A Lull in the Sea is a 2013 anime from PA Works, set in a modern world very similar to our own, with one key difference in human evolution. Instead of humans being descended from apes and living on the land, humans actually came from the sea. Humankind lived in the ocean and had a layer of their skin called enna, which allowed them to breathe underwater. Eventually though, many of them moved and migrated up onto the surface, shedding their enna and becoming modern man, like the rest of us, while a smaller subset of people remained under the sea. Which is where our story takes place with a friend group of sea dwellers named Hikari, Monika, Chisaki, and Kaname. Together they make up the entirety of their generation that lives in their sea town. So they have to go onto the surface to go to the surface school. This right away sets a dynamic that the people in the sea are fewer and growing fewer every day. A dying culture and way of living. Under the sea, they serve the sea god, or what remains of the sea god, giving them fire underwater, and allowing them to live life peacefully. Though there exists escalating tensions between the people of the land and the people of the sea, over things like fishing rights, but also worship to their old gods and their old traditions. The people of the sea being more connected with that past life and living in this fantastical world under the sea, and with more direct contact to magic, more believing and trusting in the ancient rituals than the people on land. Hikari is the de facto leader of this friend group, his father being the chief priest, which is kind of like a mayor position from what I gather, or community or spiritual leader. Together, because their school under the sea has closed down, from what I gather is a lack of students, they are forced to go onto school on land. This further shows the exasperation of differences and pride. See, when they go to land, they refuse to wear their new school's uniforms, using their old uniforms to set them apart. Of course, each resident of the sea also is set apart in other ways, each of them having very bright blue eyes. Along with people who live in the sea and the people who live on the land are the people who have moved from the sea to the land recently. One really cool detail that they do is you can kind of tell when someone is a child of someone from the land and someone from the sea, because their eyes will have a light little blue in them. They will be mostly brown, but they'll have that little blue just shaded in there, so you can see that that spirit, that connection to the sea is in there, but it's fading slowly. The show is then a characterization of these dynamics between the land and the sea, people of two completely different cultures, and the connections and frustrations that build in those. You can get a sense of an encroaching doom occurring, not from anything horrifying or a big cataclysmic event, but a slow death, a death of a culture, and not by any outside force, just one that slowly takes place as people decide to change. What the show also features, though, is love triangles. A lot of love triangles. It's practical love triangles all the way down at this point. And not all of these love triangles are triangles of romantic interest. Some of them are actually love triangles of bonds. For instance, there's a love triangle in the sense that a person has to choose between their love of their family and where they are from, or the love of the person they are with and of moving away to the surface. Though the majority of these love triangles are romantic love triangles, this hampers the show, I feel. Having a love triangle, having two love triangles, that can be interesting. Having the entire cast be love triangles, that can get a bit frustrating. Especially because if you're an anime watcher, when you get about halfway through, it becomes pretty clear how things are gonna shake out. Not to say that it completely ruins the show, but it does take up a lot of time. A lot of time that could have been spent on a world I find actually really interesting. It feels like it takes away from the story, from the compelling aspects of it by reducing everything down to being love triangles. And I get it. What I wanted out of the show, what I found interesting about the show, isn't what the creators were going for. That's fine. I understand that. I accept that. The animation in this show is beautiful, especially with the mixture of water and underwater and the sea. There is so much gorgeous colors going on here. I mean, I mentioned the eyes, but there's some times where people's eyes just look so brilliantly blue. It's really, really cool. There is really just some beautiful animation taking place here. None of this animation is knock your socks off, gonna have some crazy rotating cameras, and jumping kick flips or anything like that. It's more just melted down. Every scene you go through feels fluid. The animation feels very beautiful and just perfectly done. You know, there's no weird positions, no weird animation. It doesn't feel cheap in any way. There's no jarring moments. And animation like that is just high quality animation that doesn't have a wow moment, even if it doesn't have that wow moment, you should still recognize it as really good animation. And I feel like Lull in the Sea has some really solid animation. One of the things I will put as a detractor here is I feel like some of the characters are just really annoying. There's a frustration I always have with anime, and I get it, it's a cultural thing, but people are just so passive when it comes to romantic relationships, where they have a deep feeling for somebody, but they make no effort at all to go after them because they love somebody else, I think, possibly, and I don't know that, but I'm going to assume it and be sad. There's so many of those kind of moments that occur, because again, the love triangles all the way down. I also, admittedly, I just get really annoyed at Hikari, our main character, and that's not great. It's not great when that happens, especially the first, I'll say 5 or 6 episodes. I find them really annoying, right? They are one of those characters who are always angry for some reason, you know, they are, again, this kind of makes more sense. They are at that age where some guys just become little pieces of shit for a little bit, you know, just a complete asshole. They're overly angry, they're not very smart, and you know, as they are the main character, you might assume this, but a lot of the love triangles circle around them, and I don't fully get it because he's an asshole most of the time, but okay. And unfortunately, there wasn't really a character that stood out to me as being the character for me. Like, that's my favorite. I need to see them on screen. What's that character doing? I didn't have one of those in this show, which is disappointing. There were characters I thought I might have that connection with, like Sumugu, who is a character who lives on land, who becomes a part of their friend group. And I thought maybe I'd get some of that feeling for them, like that they were my character, but they just felt passive so much of the time, like they just kind of listless at times, you know? Very, very reserved, too reserved, in fact. Like, I can enjoy a reserved character, but there's a point that you cross where it's just, okay, they're kind of a block of wood. And Sumugu hit that block of wood threshold. At 26 episodes, this is not a difficult watch, and it does have a lot of redeeming factors. I think the world in this is really great. It's a really interesting concept of people coming from the sea and having that dynamic of people in the sea versus people on the land. There are some really interesting twists that do occur in the story that I'm not going to get into that I find really compelling. And were different. They were very different than what I would normally expect from an anime series. And there is a lot of character development. Hikari does become less of a spoiled bitch throughout the show. Again, first 6 episodes, he's the worst. After that, it gets a little better. The animation, as I mentioned, really high quality, really beautiful. There's a lot of redeeming factors that can make this show something really appealing to watch. Especially if you want the love triangles, if you want that messy kind of drama, you know what? This is probably for you. Give it a shot. You might like it. But to me, it just had too much of that relationship drama to really compel me to recommend it fully. So if you're into that messy drama, you want to see some people of the sea, if you love the ocean in general, then check this show out. It might be for you. It's on Netflix, really accessible, really easy to watch. But if I had to come back to it, it is not one of those shows I would say is a must watch. There's too many factors that kind of hold it back for me. A lot of that being the early characterization that occurs. It gets better, but it's never fully there, and there wasn't a wow factor that says I have to watch this show, right? But hey, that's my quick review here. If you have any anime that you want me to check out, that you want me to give my thoughts on, or you're curious about, I'm more than willing to give my thoughts on it. Let me know, leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and stay rad.